Oh, here comes a cast with your nerdy dicks who talks about some shit. Movies, games, TV, and more, complete with snarky quips. One is a pasty heavy man, the other is fat too. True, they have opinions on some things that barely matter to you. Important topics is not enough to quench their dorky minds. If not for the trove of geeky stuff, they'll get off their behinds. Right off their behinds. They miff and scoff and huff at this unwanted work lifestyle with Anthony, Nicholas too. Couple of beers and two mics. A moody start to this podcast and a hairy hand here at the Corners Live. Welcome to the Corner. I'm your host and resident voice, Anthony Cruz, along with me,
Nick Portela.
All right, folks, we get back again. We had a little break, but we're back, and I just want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who's been listening and who's been tuning in, who's been checking out my new web series, Creators Corner Creations. I just launched it, and it's been a hell of a ride so far. So, how you been, man?
I'm good, and to iterate on what you're saying, thank you guys for the support. Thank you for all the feedback, both good and bad. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. We're here to do this for your entertainment. So let's get rocking and rolling. Yeah. So a lot of stuff has happened since the last time we were on. We had a lot of pop culture news as far as movies and games and stuff like that, and we also had some deaths that happened since the last time we were on. And we're going to touch base on all that stuff. And if we don't get to all of it, on this one, we'll get to it on the next one. But I promise you, we'll touch base on that. Yeah, it seems like every week we have to take a little time to report a little bit of sad news. Yeah, unfortunately, this time it will be in the form of Mr. Kimbo Slice Kevin Ferguson. May he rest in peace. Everybody who knows Kimbo knows he made his bones in Florida, fighting in the streets. Basically fighting in backyards, fighting anybody who would come. He became such a YouTube sensation that he ended up actually trying out for the Ultimate Fighter. He fought there, did not win the tournament, but did get a contract. Had a couple of fights in the UFC. He also fought in Elite XC, and he's had last couple of fights he had, I believe, were for Bellator. And even though in his last couple of fights he didn't look great, but again, we're talking about a guy who was well in his 40s. Bad knees, injuries, you name it, he has it. He's survived by a few children, but one in particular of note is his son, who's actually a professional fighter also.
Right.
And from what I understand, it looks like the kid has some real potential. I'm going to be following his career and reporting back to you guys. He has a little bit of a legacy to live up to. But rest in peace, Kimbo, and thank you for all the years of entertainment.
Yeah, Kimbo, what a hell of a dude, man. And he was menacing looking. He was big, that beard and everything, but anybody who knew him said he was the sweetest dude, and the world's a lot less for. He was entertaining to watch. He may not have been the best fighter, but he was entertaining as hell. He had a lot of energy and a lot of charisma that he brought into the ring with him. So, rest in peace, brother.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny. Dana White had gone on record as talking a lot of stuff about Kimbo. Back when he was still just mainly a YouTube sensation. But then when he came into the UFC, Dana White was the first one to say that he was a class act, right, easy to work with. All his trainers liked him. And he was actually trained by Bas Rutten, who, for anybody who follows MMA or Pancrase, knows that Bas is a legend in that sport. That's the same sport where guys like Ken Shamrock, Frank Shamrock, and a couple of other dudes made their bones in. We know it here as shoot fighting, but the proper name is actually Pancrase. And that's where Bas Rutten, who is a legend known as the king of the liver shot, that can hit you with one open palm to the ribs and down you go. He actually was Kimbo's, if I remember correctly, his first real MMA trainer. Yeah. And he said that Kimbo was fun to work with, very strong guy. But by the time he got into professional fighting, the guy he was an older guy. Yeah. Already had some knee injuries, some hand injuries, and it was just, unfortunately, he was past his prime. Right. It would have been interesting to see what a young Kimbo, who would have had time to grow and develop and really learn his trade and master his craft. It would have been interesting to see what he would have brought to the fold.
Yeah, wow. So sad, man. So sad that he's gone. And this is coming off the heels of losing Muhammad Ali. and just it's just been a lot of death. I mean, yeah, a lot of people passing away, legends for that matter. Even people who are not on the same level as a Prince or a Muhammad Ali, these people pass away, and we still feel it because you know they're entertainers. On the forefront, they may be fighters, but they're entertainers too. They go in the ring and beat themselves up, and they do it to entertain us and to make us feel good, and we can all come together and share in this thing. So, rest in peace to all of them, man. Good
Yeah,
people.
definitely.
We also had another unfortunate death. This
one is very surprising.
Recently, as far as today. By the time you hear this, you already know. Star Trek's Anton Yelchin died due to an automobile accident at his home.
He played Chekhov.
He was the guy who played Chekhov in the Star Trek movies. He was the guy with the thick Russian accent. The captain, the crystals are breaking up and all this stuff. He was the young dude for the remake.
Absolutely, yeah. He is native to the J.J. Abrams version of Star Trek, which it's a great loss for the cast.
Right.
That cast has such a fantastic chemistry.
Yeah.
To see such a young life cut short, and again, this year has been a year filled with a lot of tragedy. Unfortunately, a lot of tragic deaths, and we can add his name to the list.
Yeah, he's been in a number of movies. Alpha Dog and what was it? Troll Hunters, and a couple of TV stuff here and there. But he really came out big in Star Trek. That's when people really noticed him. He was in Terminator Salvation 2. If you hadn't noticed, he was in that film. And,
really, I didn't even realize.
Yeah,
that.
he was the dude that played young John Connor's father. Kyle
Reese. Reese.
He was Kyle Reese.
Wow, look at that! I didn't know that.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Was he Kyle Reese, or he was the young guy that met up with Kyle Reese? I think that's.
He's the guy who met right. No, Christian Bale played Reese.
No, Christian Bale was Connor.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm confused here. Okay, I'm sorry, man. These Terminator. Terminator timeline has me all jacked up.
Yeah, no, they fucking jacked up the timeline. But no, I believe he does play a young Kyle Reese.
That's right. He does play a young
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese. That's right. Okay.
So any other movie that you really noticed him in would have probably been that movie, other than Star Trek. And he did a hell of a job with Chekhov. He embodied that character.
He really did. He never had huge roles in either of the movies. He hasn't had huge roles, but he always fit the bill of a Chekhov. If you're a Trekkie, I have friends who are Trekkies. If you're a Trekkie, I think, even from them, I've heard positive feedback. And let me tell you, Trekkies are hard to please. They look for any reason to not like anything that remotely deviates from what they know and love about Star Trek. I think they're actually worse than Star Wars fans in that regard. They're actually worse.
Trekkies are hard to please, man.
They're a hard lot to please. They really are. But then again, anybody who's willing to spend 4 hours and dress themselves as a Klingon, I guess they have the right to bitch a little.
Yeah.
But even they were very satisfied with his Chekhov.
Yeah.
And it's a blow. It's a blow. It's a loss.
27 years old, man, too young. It's unfortunate what happened, and it wasn't like he was hard partying and taking drugs. A lot of times you hear about the people that pass away is because they were on some kind of drug, they took too much of it or something. They were in pain, or they just did it for pleasure. But there was nothing in what happened here that was tragic in that way. It was just an accident. And God bless, man. I'm sure all his cast members they're all feeling it right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially before the new movie comes out and the movie appears and they got to do red carpet premieres. And,
sure.
And unfortunately, he's not going to be around. So big up to his family and hope
Yeah, prayers go out to them. Prayer love goes out to the family, and may he rest in peace. I guess he is on that. He's heading to that final frontier.
Oh man, God bless, man. So moving on. Well, that's it for the downers, the Debbie Downers we call them. So now we're gonna talk about some of the stuff that happens, man. I'm gonna bring you some of those movies that we talked about. In the span that we were gone, quite a number of movies dropped. We had Now You See Me 2. You had the WarCraft movie,
The Conjuring. I believe the Kevin Hart Rock movie just came out.
Yeah, which I had a chance to see Friday.
Did you? How was it?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was refreshing in a way because you know what, those buddy action comedies, they can get a little monotonous, they can get a little repetitive, but here, all right. So here's what I give it up to. Let's get The Rock out of the way. It was a total pleasure, but it was kind of weird seeing him. He's this really big dude that plays sort of like a man child, but there's a reason why he's playing it that way. But then you kind of realize that he really is that way.
Really?
Yeah, in the movie, he's just a badass CIA agent. So he's like a giant man-child CIA agent, and it was kind of refreshing to see him. Out of the two that you would expect to be like sort of like wacky and crazy, it would turn out him, or Kevin Hart played it a little more straight.
Seriously?
Yeah, because you know, like when you watch the other one with Ice Cube, you know, it's him. He's the over the top one. He's the one that's like, shouting out and doing this and crazy. And then Ice Cube plays it straight. Now he's the one playing it straight, and now The Rock is the one that's kind of like, you don't know what he's going to do next.
You know, The Rock, it's funny with The Rock. I followed his wrestling career coming up. And he is one of those guys that he is so gifted. He has so much charisma. He can do, and as a wrestler, because, on some levels, being a pro wrestler is like being an actor. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're good guys, sometimes they're bad guys. There's a lot of different roles they have to play. The Rock was always very good at going from being silly and comical to very mean and menacing. Mm-hmm. He always had that ability to do that. He could change gears very easily.
And he did it profoundly in this movie. Like, you see him, he's like, hey, bro, it's good to see you. Oh, you're the man, you're the jet, and this and that. It was really charming. And then, like, a situation would come up, and he would just flip, and then he becomes this badass, kick-ass dude. And it's like, holy crap. So, and of course, it's all play because, he's trying to steer the story in a certain way, steer the characters. But it was really cool. Like, even if the movie doesn't do as well as it should, like, seeing him do that was kind of refreshing for The Rock.
Oh, absolutely. He's such a physically imposing guy.
Yeah.
The guy's 6'6", he weighs about 290 pounds.
It was just awkward seeing him in that.
Yeah, he is so, he's so physically
and the fact
imposing.
that he mentioned his size was actually kind of funny because there was a scene where he stays in Kevin Hart's house and he puts on his pajamas and he's just ripping out of this fucking thing. And Kevin Hart's like, just keep them. Just keep the pajamas. And it was just really, really funny. So just seeing that movie, like I kind of glad I went to go see it.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm
because I see those things and I kind of grown, like I'm getting kind of weary of those kind of buddy movies.
Yeah,
kind of follow the same formula over and over.
Yeah, I'm not really a big Ride Along fan. I know Ride Along did very well at the theaters, and I'm happy for both those guys because I grew up listening to Ice Cube, and I do like Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that the movies have been successful, but it's just I've reached a point where I'm not interested in those types of flicks anymore.
Oh, and here's my other point about this movie. When you get to buddy cop movies, the dialogue tends to become a little predictable. You kind of almost foresee where they're going to go with the conversation.
Sure.
I couldn't do that with this movie. I give it a lot to maybe the improvisation of Kevin Hart.
Oh, and they say he is brilliant.
And he's brilliant
they
at
say
that because
he is brilliant.
It may say, and I'm thinking about this. I remember seeing the movie and then driving home and then thinking about how that script would have went. Like, he read the script and said, I like where this is going, but I'm going to say it like this. And that's the cut they went with. I could totally see that. Because I can't see anybody writing for Kevin Hart and writing it in a way that he goes, yeah, I would say that, and then do it.
Yeah, no, almost like Robin Williams. They say that about Robin.
Yeah, like,
Robin Williams used to drive people crazy.
Right, because he would not go by the script.
He never stuck exactly to the script.
Right.
Very
because
rarely did he do that.
And
even when he was playing a serious character, they said it was the same thing.
Right. If you're gonna be true to who you are as a comedian, you're not gonna abide by the scripts. And you can see evidence between comedians that do and comedians that don't. And the ones that do go by the script, it's very scripted. It's just like, you gotta understand the difference between stand-up comics and comedic actors are two wildly different things.
Oh, they're different animals.
Absolutely. Because a stand-up comedian can go there and improvise a scene 20 million different times because they do it on stage. Mm-hmm. They take the same joke and they'll reword it in 20 different ways in front of 20 different crowds because each reaction or the way the crowd's reacting determines how they're going to
Yeah,
deliver
they
that
think
joke.
on their feet. They're very instinctive.
Comedic actors,
Very instinctive.
much like let's say like Ben Stiller. He's not a stand-up comedian, but he'll go and deliver a line, and he's a funny dude through his mannerisms, but he'll deliver a line just the way the line's written. Maybe, devy it up a little bit, but he's not known to do that.
Right.
You
Well, Ben Stiller is a guy who, again, another successful guy. But like you said, they're two different animals. Mm-hmm. It's almost like when you look at sports, right? They're all athletes, but they're different animals. Mm-hmm. A baseball player doesn't have the same skills as a basketball player,
right,
and vice versa. And you see that in your comparison of comedic actors and comedians. Improvisational comics, guys like Billy Crystal, guys like Robin Williams, guys like George Carlin, mm-hmm. guys like Joe Rogan in mm-hmm. many ways. These guys, they're quick, they're sharp, they think on their feet. They're able to gauge a crowd, listen to their reaction, and they know just where they need to go.
Right.
It's a God-given instinct. It's not something someone could teach you. What? Now, comedic actors, on the other hand, they get over more on just maybe their mannerisms. Sometimes they're more physical comedy, like the guy who plays Paul Blart.
Right.
That guy, he's more of a physical kind of comedian. Right. Like, he'll fall and stumble and trip and throw himself in these awkward positions that a guy his weight shouldn't be at. Yeah. And it's funny to look at. But they're different animals. It's a different set of skills. Mm-hmm. Kevin Hart, however, seems to have both. Mm-hmm. From what I'm looking at, from his body of work so far,
right,
he seems to be able to do both.
Right.
And that's a rare gift. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
Billy Crystal's one who can. Again, Robin Williams, may he rest in peace, another great one. He was able to do the same thing too.
Right.
And it seems like Kevin Hart, by the time his career is all said and done, we're gonna throw his name in that same hat with the all-time great comedians.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. I can even take it to sitcoms. When you watch sitcoms, a lot of these shows are very scripted. They even have laugh tracks and stuff like that. But you'll see when something's genuine on the screen, and that's what I look for. If anything, in a sitcom, is how many genuine moments I can pull out of a half-hour episode.
Sure.
Because they'll say a line and you'll see them react and laugh. Because maybe it wasn't delivered the way it was supposed to be delivered, or a certain expression that they had when they said it. So, and a lot of the times I saw that on the Drew Carey show. Like, they'll say a line and you just see the actors kind of just chuckle under their breath. They're just like, and they have to get through the moment and then they'll continue.
Yeah, Drew Carey's an underrated dude.
And they'll leave it in the cut. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a live studio audience or a laugh track, they'll just swallow it and keep going. And I appreciate that about things. So seeing that in this movie, seeing that how I couldn't predict what they were going to say was a real pleasure. Like Spy was a surprise hit with this girl, and I didn't like. It was another one of those movies where I was like, here we go, spy comedy kind of thing. Turned out to be a lot funnier than I thought it would be. And the same thing with this movie. I was kind of like, I don't know, man. Even though I like The Rock and I like Kevin Hart, I don't know if I'm going to like this kind of mixture. But I enjoyed it.
Well, I kind of had a good feeling about this movie, mainly because of the mixture. You have The Rock, this specimen, right?
Yeah.
This guy, a world-class athlete. And you see him up there, and he's had moments when he can be funny. You can tell The Rock has a good sense of humor. And even if you followed his career as a wrestler, you saw he came up with some of the wildest stuff. Like, he would take a guitar on in the middle of the ring and start singing his version of Heartbreak Hotel. I mean, he did some funny stuff as a wrestler. So, there's a bit of a comedian in him. And then you have Kevin Hart, who's really funny. And it's just this weird combination of this real tall, physically menacing guy and this short little, barely 5 foot nothing guy. And their interactions with each other. And that scene they showed in the commercial with The Rock as a really heavy kid. Yeah, and he's singing, and oh man, and that just looked like it would be gold.
Yeah, no, it's very funny, and even watching in the theater, I still enjoyed the scene. But it's one of my gripes that I have with these kind of movies. They'll take a joke and they'll make that the prime, especially that kind of thing. Like, I would have saved that a little bit until I got some movies, because I wouldn't expect to see The Rock as a fat kid,
with Jerry curls,
right? Because you know what, like if I would have cut the commercial the way I would have cut the scene where you see in the commercial where he reintroduces himself to Kevin Hart's character and says, "It's me, Robbie Reardick, whatever, from high school," and he goes, "Oh my God, you lost so much weight," but not show him fat. I would have left that off the commercial. So that when I go to this, I see this motherfucker huge. I would have been fucking rolling on the floor.
Right, it's one of those things you wish they would have kept to themselves.
Yes.
I know what you mean. It's like Avengers. I was so happy with Avengers that we didn't see Giant Man.
Right, exactly.
That was awesome because when it happened in the movie, it was such a surprise.
And that's another problem I have with some of these comedies, that they throw in some of the funniest jokes in the commercial and don't save it for the movie so that you're like in stitches. So when they come and you watch them in the theater, they're not as funny as you did when you first saw them in the commercial. So that's that. So yeah, I really enjoyed the movie, but kudos to them, man. I mean, that's an example where you can kind of refresh a buddy cop. Sure. Not a buddy cop, but a buddy action flick.
Well, Rush Hour did that for a time. When Rush Hour came out with Jackie Chan, they were big hits.
Yeah.
Those movies did very, very well at the box office. Jackie and Chris Tucker had such a chemistry. Yeah. I don't know who thought of putting those two guys together.
But it worked.
But whoever it did, it was brilliant. It worked, and they were great. And you take it back to the great ones, Lethal Weapon, which is probably my favorite.
Right.
The Lethal Weapons, Beverly Hills Cop, those types of movies. There was a time when those movies were all the craze.
Right.
And then, like all genres, it died down, and now we're starting to see a little bit of it again. Because we have Ride Along, which has done well, and now we have this one. If this does well, maybe we'll see a sequel. Who knows? Right. So we'll see where this goes.
Let's see. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know if they can pull a franchise out of this, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, it seems like a really good one-off. But look, there's things I wish they would have had sequels to that they never did. I mean, fuck. I mean, I'm still waiting for another Tango and Cash.
Oh man,
I think I'm gonna die before we get another one.
Damn man, if there was ever a buddy cop movie that needed a sequel, it was that one.
Fuck,
that one was awesome.
I who I gotta blow in Hollywood just to get a fucking Tango and Cash too.
Well, U-Ball, you have to blow U-Ball.
Maybe, but he'll fuck it up. So that movie came out. We had Now You See Me Too, which was actually pretty damn good. I enjoyed the first movie.
Oh, the first one was great.
And this one, do I love it as much as the first part? No, but it was fucking good.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was good.
I love the first one. The first one had a great cast. It did. It had a great cast. It was well acted, good, well thought out story. Mm-hmm. The magic tricks were crazy. It was like Chris Angel on crack. You would think these guys were really sorcerers,
right? It was crazy. Like, this movie did something to me. Like it was like a car. It's like a car with low horsepower. Like it was slow to start, but once it got going, then you got the speed, and that's what it was. It was like, all right, we already know who these people are. You understand the MO now. How do you bring them back? Now that they kind of know who set up everything in the first movie, how does he play in this? And then
and that organization they joined,
right? The Eye, right?
The Eye.
And how does that factor in? Like, who's the Eye? Who's involved? So some time has passed and things have changed. So now you got this movie where the Horsemen are kind of like doing their own thing. They're still in hiding, but they're getting antsy. Like, when are we gonna come back into the spotlight? And the girl from the first movie, she left. She said she didn't want to be a part of it anymore. She got tired of waiting. The other three are waiting patiently, but they're starting to get a little impatient, especially Jesse Eisenberg's character.
Right. Yeah, he out of all of them, he was the one that had the most. He really needed that adrenaline rush. You could tell that.
He just needed to feel like he was a part of something or useful or not just being wasted, just waiting, But there was reasons, whatever was going on. So you got this guy's character, Mark Ruffalo's character. Mm-hmm. He's still with the Bureau, but now they're you got this one, he's got that one character that's a little too nosy.
Right.
So he's always suspecting him.
He thinks that there's more to this guy than meets the eye.
Yeah, exactly. And now they got a new director.
I didn't see that coming in part one when it would turn out to be Mark Ruffalo.
Right,
that was a shock.
So now in this one, they got a new boss, and she's and she knows of him and likes the way he's come up in the Bureau. But she's also got an ear out to this guy who's trying to blow up his shit. So you have that kind of subplot line. And then, when they finally decide we're going to come back out, the Horsemen, they was going to bring the Horsemen out to bring out another corrupt person, it doesn't go as planned. And right in the middle of their thing to, punish this guy for being an asshole, whatever the case may be, it all goes awry. And they all have to make a dashy escape. And then now they're being framed and they're they're on the run and stuff like that, and then that's when it picks up the pieces. Then it turns into a magic version of Ocean's 11.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually pretty fucking cool.
But then again, you could kind of compare the first one to Ocean's 11 also.
Right, but this one had a little more like, like when you watch Ocean's 11 or 12 or 13, they have this planning stage and then they go do it, or they're talking about what they're gonna do while they're showing clips of them actually going to do it, and it was actually pretty cool when they get to the scene and they have to steal something. And they're using their magic to not get caught.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm sitting there that's cool, smiling. I'm like, yo, this is fucking cool, man. It's like I said, Ocean's 11 with some magic in it.
That's cool. I love that cast. I do. That's the type of movie that I think could actually be a very successful series.
Yeah.
And they have some series similar. Like they have this one show called Magicians.
Yeah.
Which is a little similar to that.
Right.
But that cast and just that whole premise is something I could see being a very popular syndicated show.
Right.
I really think they can pull, especially with the whole organization of the Eye. There's just so many good little tidbits there that probably would make a very good, long-standing series.
Right. And it was really, really cool. By the time you get to the end of the movie, you're like, yes. And they bring back the whole cast, Michael Caine and
Woody Harrelson.
Which, like, he almost steals the fucking show.
I love this character in the first one.
And you're gonna like him in this movie twice.
Really?
For reasons.
Okay, I'm
looking forward to that. I don't want to spoil it too much, but for reasons you're gonna like him twice. And then you have Morgan Freeman. He's back in it.
And who doesn't love Morgan Freeman?
Daniel Radcliffe is in the movie now.
Yes, I remember seeing Harry Potter in there.
Yeah, he's in there.
And how fitting is that, Harry Potter in this kind of movie? Huh?
Yeah, more magic, man. What can I tell you? And so yeah, I walked out that theater and I'm like, yeah, that's a good sequel. I'm with it.
You felt satisfied.
Slow to start, but in the end, I was good.
Could you see a third part being made from this?
Totally.
Really?
Totally. I mean, give it some time. Don't try to rush out another sequel. Put some thought into it, because I think the reason why they waited so long is that they needed a good story, a good reason to bring this out. So the fact that if they do have a third one, give it some time. Let them take their time and bring out a new part.
Well, that would be good. That would be good. I'm all for seeing creative stuff in Hollywood. I'm all for seeing creativity. I'm all for seeing something new. What I loved about Now You See Me is that it wasn't like anything that was out there at the time. Right. It was something very different, which is something Hollywood is in dire lack of. Something different. Right. So when the first one came out, it was like, okay, it's not normally my type of thing, but I remember seeing the movie and watching it and going, holy crap, this was excellent.
Yeah, no, it was a fucking it was fun, man. It's fun, and like I said, I'll see another one if they bring it out. As long as they bring back all the cast, if
and the cast has great chemistry.
Yeah,
which is important. Yeah, it's important to have a cast with great chemistry. Yeah, and I love the way these guys blend together. Mark
Ruffalo, they get more into his backstory. Just a lot of cool shit. So, big win for that movie. What else is out there? Oh, WarCraft.
WarCraft, yes, I just saw that yesterday.
Oh, man.
Actually, I just saw it yesterday.
About damn time.
Yeah, I know. I was a little behind. Sorry, guys. I'm a little behind these days.
I'm glad we waited a week.
Yeah, I'm glad we. Me too. That thing called life gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
But I gotta say, there's some good things. There's some very good things about this movie. I'll start off. I'll get the good out the way. The CGI was seamless. Blizzard did an amazing job. I've watched every cutscene from every WarCraft game and expansion. I've seen all the cutscenes from all of them. This movie made them all look bad. That's how good the CGI was in this one, in my opinion. I love the orcs. Don't get me wrong, I love the Lord of the Rings style of the orcs, but there was something about these orcs, they looked really inhuman, which to me is important. Orcs shouldn't look human. They shouldn't look like disfigured people. They're a different race altogether, and that's what they felt like when I saw this movie. I thought that was good. The head orc, the one, the mastermind behind everything, seamless, awesome. Beyond anything that you ever would see in the game. Funny enough, the characters I had the most trouble connecting with were not the CG characters, they were the human characters. And this is where the movie starts to fail a little bit. I don't know if it's bad casting or if everyone just felt like dialing in their performance, or maybe it's also because they were working with a lot of CGI characters and not every actor is good at working with something they can't see. Some people need that actual real interaction to bring out the best in them. So
Right.
I don't know if maybe that was part of it. I'm not quite sure why, because all the actors in this movie, they're good, solid actors. But for some reason, nobody was really too believable in their roles.
Yeah.
Maybe it was maybe it's more of a script thing. I don't know if maybe just their lines or the way they were scripted wasn't the greatest. Sometimes that happens too.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they all just kind of fell a little flat to me.
You know what's interesting about that, because I agree with you on that. It could be the casting. It could be the fact that we're so engaged on how good the CG characters were that when it came down to the human characters, we weren't as interested because we've seen all that shit before. You know, so whatever it was that just didn't pull us in, it was clearly evident. It was there.
Yeah, it was there. There was something there. Whatever.
Every time they were on screen, every time they were on screen, I was just like, okay.
Yeah, there was something there that wasn't quite, but quite to the contrary. The CG characters were excellently voice acted.
Yes,
They were fantastically voice acted, and I loved the main orc that was featured.
Yeah, the main hero.
The main hero orc that was featured.
Yeah.
I loved his character.
Yeah, he was engaging. Like,
he was very engaging.
Like from the very beginning, like he was the most. For me, he was the most human thing in that movie.
Yeah, he was. He definitely was. There was more humanity in the way he was presented to me than I saw in the King, than I saw in Lothar, than I saw in the Guardian, than I saw in everybody else.
Yeah, and even like out of the human actors, the one that stood out the most, and people would think, oh, Paula Patton's character, the orc lady. No, it was actually the Guardian. The guy's been in countless movies. He was actually pretty good. He played sort of like this mage or wizard that protects everybody. He has a lot of magic, and he turns out to be somewhat the antagonist at the end.
Yeah, that was another problem this movie had too. And spoiler alert. The one thing that this movie failed in my opinion, there's some great places where it succeeded, but one place where it failed was this: they didn't engage you in the plot enough. You were immersed in the world, like the world was beautiful, completely beautiful to look at, and for me, who's a fantasy buff, I really enjoyed watching that world, like everything, like little things, like they would walk through a forest and you see like a forest imp in there just randomly there.
Right.
You had griffins, you had, of course, you had the orcs. They showed the elves quickly, and the elves were ripped right out of the video games. They looked amazing. I wanted to see more of them. The dwarves looked like dwarves.
Yeah,
and
they were the only other CG animated, characters other than the orcs, and they looked fucking amazing.
Oh, they looked incredible. They really looked incredible. Better than the Lord of the Rings or dwarves. And I love the way Peter Jackson made the dwarves in Lord of the Rings. He did.
Of course,
but
he did a job.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. But these dwarves, again, they felt like a different race. They didn't feel like short people.
Right.
They felt like something different.
Mm-hmm.
The elves, the same thing. In Lord of the Rings, the elves look like people, except they're more beautiful. And there's a certain glow and a certain brightness, almost a divinity to the elves, the way they're presented to us in Lord of the Rings. In this movie, the elves just felt like a completely different race entirely.
Right.
Not human at all. And that was important. And it succeeded there 100%. I'm immersed enough in the world to see a sequel.
That's the thing. I mean, you got to think about a movie that's so big in scope, between the video games, the books, just the random stories that pop up here and there. It's so big. So how do you tell a story? How do you introduce a story that vast to a crowd that's mostly not involved in that world in any way, shape, or form? You got your fanboys who go in and eat it up, no problem. But then there's everybody else. There's the people who like fantasy but not attuned to Warcraft, and then you have the people who just like watching movies and will engage in a fantasy movie every once in a while. So how do you do that? This is kind of a good starting point. For I understand, this is based on one of the books, or one of the first books, Warcraft.
Right.
So,
and I think even the first game, like there's a lot from the first game in there also.
So in that way, they did pretty well in establishing that there's orcs and elves and dwarves and mages and griffins and all this stuff in a pretty vast world. And they did a little scene jumping where it went from kingdom to kingdom. So you saw Azeroth, you saw all these places, and they just established a world. So now if they did a sequel, they don't have to do so much setting up.
Right, the world is there already.
You should be aware by now.
You can just worry about telling a story, and that's
exactly.
it. You don't have to worry about introductions, unless you're introducing maybe one or two more characters, for the sake of the movie. But for the most part, the world's established.
So they're doing this severe juggling act, and I give them credit because this movie could completely suck, and they didn't.
No, not at all.
I enjoyed it. Like I said, there was things I would have done different. I would have picked different cast, or I would have loved to all the characters be CG. But then now you're dealing with another animation, and not everybody goes to see an animation, especially movies where human characters are predicted in CG form. People don't swallow it up. If it ain't Pixar, they're not gonna be attuned to it. I mean, that's part of the reason why movies like Beowulf didn't do as well as it should have, or Polar Express. It was like, oh, these humans, they look a little freaky. There's something weird about them. Well, they're fucking animations.
Exactly.
They're not gonna look.
Let your imagination go a little bit here.
Right.
And some people, for some reason, like you said, if it's not attached to Pixar, people are not quick to give it a chance.
Right.
They're just
exactly.
not, which is a shame, because there are so many stories I would love to see told in CG form.
Yeah, like they'll watch human characters if they look like cartoons. So if it's really highly animated or they look a little funny because they got big ears, big noses, they'll with it. But you get a CG animation, and they look lifelike. I don't know. There's something gets pulled away from it, and they can't engage because something doesn't seem right about it.
Yeah, something.
It's something weird about how people react to that.
People.
And it's tried and true. I mean, it happened with Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. Happened with Beowulf. It happened with Polar Express. Even the Christmas Carol, the Jim Carrey one, which was a lot more well received. But even still, people are like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, the Polar Express is a weird thing. That movie picked up steam later. It started off a little slow, and then eventually it became a massive success.
Yeah,
but it took time.
A classic, yeah.
It took time. It wasn't something that kind of just happened.
Yeah. So here it is. I would have hoped that WarCraft would have been an all CG movie. If you watch any of the cutscenes from the games, they are phenomenal, and they're completely CG. But like I said, you gotta sort of engage people who are not into this kind of genre. So.
Yeah, and I think another problem also, you mentioned cast earlier, and cast, I think, is a problem. To me, when you're doing a movie like WarCraft, I think it's imperative that you have a couple of names people recognize in the movie. Mm-hmm. I think going with a cast that's not really well known was part of the problem. It's not to say that they were necessarily bad actors, because they're not. But at the same time, it would have been good to see a familiar face.
Yeah. Someone
who played Aragorn. Like the guy who played Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn, would have been nice. So maybe Sean Bean would have been good.
Totally.
Or who I think would have been a very good fit for this movie. You're going to laugh, but anyone who followed the Highlander series, Adrian Paul, the guy who plays Duncan MacLeod.
Yes.
He is fantastic in these types of roles.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they would have gone with a couple of familiar faces, mm-hmm. maybe some actors who were a little bit more adept at being in a completely CG type of environment, maybe they would have felt more comfortable. Yeah. Then the script also.
Yeah. We were talking about it last night, how Paula Patton plays this half human, half orc female.
She plays a character,
and she kind of felt like I guess she was meant to play this bridge between the live characters and the CG characters, but somehow she just feels awkward right in the middle. And it's kind of weird. I'm like, did I really need her in this movie? I'm not so sure. Not to say anything about her acting prowess. She acted fine. But I just felt a little disjointed with her.
Well, I think the problem is, like you said, they wanted to create a bridge. The orcs don't look human at all. They're big and they're lumbering and they're huge. And people, of course, are played by live actors. So I guess because they kind of hint at her being half human, half orc. Mm-hmm. They never explicitly said that, but that's what you're hinted at, that she's half and half. Yeah. I guess that's the reason why they made her an actual live actress, to give her more of a human feel.
Right.
So, but at the same time, she looks different, so it's almost this, you get this sense that she doesn't fit in with people, but she doesn't fit in with the orcs either.
Yeah, and then,
she's somewhere in the middle.
Right. And you know what, I don't totally hate it, because anytime you want to take a green species and want to fuck a human species, hey, go for it, man. Have them fuck. I don't care. I mean, she's fine. I mean, even with her green ass and tiny tusks, I fucking tap that.
Hey, listen. If we have to accept Bruce Jenner, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
So with
if we're forced to call her Caitlyn, then why not? Tap an orc here.
And another beef I had with the film was, I felt that if you're gonna all right, the whole point is that you're introducing this thing. So if you really want it to work and you want it to sell, then you throw everything at the world. You throw everything at the wall and hope everything sticks. You know what I'm saying? Just like the way Turtles did. They was like, fuck it. We got a chance to do a sequel. We're going to toss everything at these fuckers. And then we'll see what sticks and what doesn't stick and what. So they should have done that with this, because here it is. You got a rich world full of, humans and elves and dwarves. The elves and the dwarves should have had a much bigger role than they did. They were just there to show that they're there, but they didn't have any part in how that world was defended against the onslaught of the orcs. I think they should have fought side by side. I think the elves should have been involved. I mean, that was what made Lord of the Rings so awesome, because you had this community of people fighting against the armies of Mordor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So having all those together in like in a final battle scene of this, it was pretty damn epic.
It was.
But I would have loved to seen the elves get in there and the dwarves and say, "Yeah, we're fighting together."
That would have been my guess. Is,
I would have ate it up like
that would have. I was hoping for that also. I was hoping that when that portal opened, and again, spoiler alert, there's a scene where a portal opens and the rest of the orc army is coming from their world into Azeroth. The reason being is because orcs are not originally from Azeroth; they're from a different place altogether, where their world was pretty much dead. So they were looking for a new home, which is how they ended up in Azeroth in the first place. And fast forward, in the movie, there's a scene where a portal is being opened, and the entire almost the orc world is going to pour through this portal and pretty much overrun Azeroth. I was so hoping that in the end, when the Guardian, Medivh, what he would have seen that and maybe opened the portal for the elves to come through or the dwarves to come through, and you could have really gotten that Lord of the Rings style battle. My only guess is that's probably what they want to do in a sequel. That's my only guess.
If they get to do it.
If the movie,
but that's my whole point. I'm like, look, you get one chance. Sometimes you get a second chance, but most of the time you get one chance to make an impression. So why not do everything you want to do, or at least try to do everything you want to do, and get it out there. If you're reading a script that says, wait a minute, you have all these things, let's put them in a fight. Fuck it, we're already paying this money to have these fucking orcs and like billions of them, and they all look different and stuff like that, man. Render a fucking couple of elves and dwarves and have them fuckers fight.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
If you're going to do it all the way.
Yeah, exactly. Don't half-ass it.
I completely agree with that. But again, it also comes down to script problems.
Yeah.
The elves and the dwarves weren't worked into the script enough.
Right.
Maybe if they would have given us an elf, one of the main characters as an elf or as a dwarf, that would have been a little bit more feasible. But they were just very quickly introduced, and other than their introduction, there was no major elf or dwarven character in the movie. It was strictly humans and orcs.
Right.
And I think that's another area where the script kind of failed. It should have given you a little bit of everyone. Like Lord of the Rings did with the Fellowship. You had a dwarf, you had an elf, you had people, you had hobbits.
Exactly.
It gave you the whole world.
Right.
You knew pretty much in this group was a representative from everyone in the world.
Yeah.
So from every race in the world. And it would have been good if this movie would have done that. And, I know some people might say, oh, well, you're just ripping off the Lord of the Rings if that's the case. Maybe so, but let's be honest here. Lord of the Rings is the grandfather of all fantasy. In our generation. Yep. So a little imitation Lord of the Rings is not a bad thing.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't
fucking hurt.
It really doesn't. So
what was it? The best form of
they said the sincerest form of flattery is imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Exactly. So why the fuck not? Just don't copyright infringe.
Yeah, don't do that.
Then it's your ass, Mr. Postman.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like how I say same bad time, same bad. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah. So so that's it. I mean, that's. Some of the movies, I
still say it's worth seeing, just for you guys.
Yeah.
Final verdict, I still think the movie, there's flaws and all. The movie is flawed, but it's worth seeing because I think where this thing can go later would be incredible if given a chance.
Right.
And let's be honest, folks, how much originality are you getting from Hollywood these days?
Very true. Very true.
So sometimes, all right, let's take a hit now, watch a movie that may not be the greatest hit, so that we get something incredible later.
Exactly, man. That's all we asked for. That's all we asked for. So that's what we got for this week. What can I say? There's so much more to talk about, but we're going to do that next time. We thank you all for coming here, enjoying this time with us. Be sure to visit me on Instagram and Twitter at Tone and Stereo. Check out artgraphicsinc.com. Check out my Facebook page, Art Graphics Inc. And like, subscribe, share,
show love.
Do all of that, because without that, You know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know where we stand with y'all. We want to do this for you. So, yeah, show the love, man. Hook it up. And check out the new series, Creators Corner Creations. That's me doing what my first love is, which is art.
And he's good at it, folks. Let me tell you, he has some great stuff.
I'm all right.
You know, he's going to put it out.
I'm an artist with ADD.
ADD.
Like my attention is only as good as I got this idea. Let me do it real quick, and I'm on to the next shit. But I'm working on that. Try to be better for you. So yeah, just stay tuned. Who knows? Maybe the next week's inspiration may be you. Whoever's listening, it could be you. I might take you and post it on your thing. So thank you for all the positive feedback on that.
Definitely. Thank you guys again for the support. All feedback, whether it's positive or negative, is all constructive. It helps us grow, helps us improve, helps us entertain you better, and bring you the news in a more effective way.
Mm-hmm.
So next time you see us, we'll have some things to talk about. We'll cover Conjuring, we'll cover the E3, we'll cover, which is a lot of stuff happening in E3. So make sure you tune in next time. We're looking forward to seeing you guys on the corner.
Oh yeah, definitely. So thank you for coming to the corner. I'm Anthony Cruz.
Nick Portela.
See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.